welcome everybody. It is officially noon. I see Mary, are you on? I can see she's trying to connect to the audio. Welcome, Chris. Can you lead us in the invocation this morning?
Sure. Let's pray. Holy and gracious God, we thank you for your presence with us. We thank you for getting us this far. We thank you for your grace and mercy in our lives, for friends around the community that we have. We pray your blessing on our conversation. Let the things that we do enhance our community, and we just thank you. Thank you for your presence in our life. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
We have a flag, Meg?
Yes, 1 second.
All right. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. All right. While we're waiting for our speaker, he's not on yet, huh? Is he on, Cynthia? Okay. This is our first virtual host. I'm actually here at Concepts and Workwise. That's why you may get some echo. So hi, Sam and Meg. And we were going to go ahead and start with the speaker, but since he's not on yet, we'll do a couple of other little things first. Last night, Janine and I met with the City Council to get their support to move ahead with the art project that Janine has come up with for the old high water markers up on 603 and I-10. They were very supportive, and so we're going to start talking to teachers and stuff about getting some artwork together to move forward with that project. RLI's next online session starts August 4th, and it'll be for 9 weeks. If you need information about how fun that was to do it online, talk to Lizette or Janine or Cynthia, and they can probably give you a good rundown of what it's like. It's a $60 fee, but the club will cover that fee for you. Please remind the nonprofits that you support that the Ripple applications are due August 5th. There will be no meeting next week as it is the 5th Wednesday. So I would like to encourage you to do a small service project, maybe at your office or something, do a can drive for the food pantry, or maybe a mask drive for the kids going back to school. Or you could read a children's book and upload it to the Rotary page. If you go on the Rotary Facebook page today, I posted one that our daughter Megan did. So it was real easy. Just read the book into your camera and upload it, and off you go. So that's what I have. And then we were going to tour the Workwise stuff. Cynthia? There we go. Perfect timing.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sorry I'm late. I had technical difficulties on our end, but now I'm here and happy to be here.
Great. And you timed it just perfectly. We were just saying we were about to turn it over to you. So I'm going to actually Cynthia to give you a little introduction, and then we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So our speaker today is Shad White. He was appointed the 42nd State Auditor of the state of Mississippi in July 2018 and won election to the office after establishing a tough, no-nonsense reputation during his first year on the job. Before becoming auditor, Shad served as director of the Mississippi Institute, a conservative public interest law institute. He holds certificates in forensic accounting, and he is a certified fraud examiner. White has also practiced law in the private sector, having served as a special prosecutor and has taught as an adjunct professor. The son of an oil field pumper and a school teacher, he grew up in rural Jones County and went on to earn degrees from Ole Miss, the University of Oxford, where he studied as a Rhodes Scholar, and Harvard Law School. Today, he and his wife, Rena, and their daughter live in Rankin County and attend St. Richard Church. We're so thankful that COVID has allowed us the opportunity to bring in people like Shad to share what he's doing in our state auditor's office, and for him to know the service that we're providing to our community here in Hancock County. Welcome, Shad.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. And thank you all for having me via Zoom. I think that what y'all are doing by continuing to have these meetings is really important. You know, I've done maybe 3 or 4 of these now, and you know, it's a weird world we're living in right now, and it's very easy to put down all our normal activities and just kind of isolate ourselves, and that becomes dangerous too. So it's good to see y'all getting together via Zoom. So I was thinking back about this. This is, I think y'all were the first Rotary that I spoke to 2 years ago, right after I got appointed. Tammy's giving me the thumbs up, so I think that means, yeah. I've gotten some gray hair since then. I don't know if you can see that coming in real strong there. So 2 years in this job has been eventful and interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's a good kind of 2-year benchmark to be able to come back and give you an update, because I guess we're 2 years and 6 days since I took office. So this is a good 2-year anniversary. The other thing that's happened, I'll show you this. The other thing that's happened since you last saw me is my wife and I had a baby girl. That's her right there. I don't know if you can see. She's a mess. She is, she's 15, 16 months old at this point. So she is running around and yelling at us and doing all the things that you want a toddler to do. And so she's been a lot of fun. I'll tell you a little bit and break a little bit of news for you here too about the last 2 years. So right around now, every year, we look back at the previous year and we identify how much money we got back for taxpayers, because we are legally required to report that around now to the legislature. So we just have those numbers in. We just got those numbers in. I haven't publicly disclosed these to anybody yet, but I will next week sometime. But I'll give you a sneak preview. When you compare the amount of money that we got back this past year to the year prior to me coming in, we have increased the amount of taxpayer money that we have gotten back by just a little bit over 100%. So we've had a 100% increase. And the way I've explained that to folks, or to just give you some context on it, you know, if you're running a business right now and your revenue is up 100% over 2 years ago, you had a good 2 years. So I think we've had a very, very good 2 years. And the reason that we've had a very good 2 years is, one, I inherited a very strong foundation from my predecessor and a good team that he had been building. And then I've added some people onto that foundation. So I hired a new director of investigations, which is the sort of lead division in the auditor's office that goes out and investigates people who have potentially embezzled money or kickback schemes. When he came in, we also then added some new investigators. We've added new people who have a better understanding of some of the newest investigative technology. And so we're now a hub, a resource for any sort of investigations going on in Mississippi when someone has a question about technology. So for instance, a lot of proof in criminal cases is on these things. You know, criminals tend to still text one another. They tend to still email one another. So you have to have the ability to go in and mine that data in order to prove criminal cases these days. And for a while, the FBI was sort of the lead agency in Mississippi for you know, figuring out how to use technology to build criminal investigations, and they still are a lead agency. But I would argue that we've caught up with them in the state auditor's office, based both on the people that we now have and the technology that we now have. So we had this kind of dusty old workroom in the back, which we have completely retrofitted with new technology, and we have a full-time staffer back there. So when you add pieces like that onto an already good foundation, you're going to get good results. And that's what we're seeing right now is we've had a good 2 years of identifying money that was yours, taxpayer money that was stolen, and gotten it back for you. So to give you a sense of how it's sort of worked in the last couple of years, I wanted to tell you the story about one of our cases. y'all all know, if you heard me talk 2 years ago, you know, the mission of the state auditor's office is to make sure that taxpayer money gets spent the way it is legally required to be spent. So we go out and we do audits of counties, we go do audits of state agencies, we go do audits of school districts, and generally we're trying to make sure that their financial statements are reasonably accurate. But if in the course of that audit we find something that looks like a fraud scheme, or if a person who's a whistleblower comes forward to us and tells us something about a fraud scheme, we hand that over to the investigations division, and they work on building a case if there is indeed criminal activity, and then ultimately taking that case to a prosecutor and hopefully getting a result at the end of it. So here's the story of one of our cases and how that worked out over the course of the last 2 years. In October of 2018, we concluded an investigation into the president of a board of supervisors in South Mississippi. And what this guy was doing was really a couple different schemes that he had figured out. The first scheme was he had set up a program for mentoring young men in the public schools. So the idea behind this program was, if you're a young man in the public school system who made good grades, he had set up a program where you could be enrolled in the program and they would give you rewards for making good grades. So they would take you on a field trip, or they would give you a jacket or some kind of reward for making good grades. He set that up, and when we started looking at how that program was functioning, we realized that he did indeed take some of these men on young trips and give them things in order, in exchange for them making good grades, which is all completely legal and fine. But what he was also doing was this: he would go with the young men on the field trips. He would come back from the field trips and he would have receipts in his hand from that field trip, and he would go to the county government, so he'd go to the board of supervisors, and he would tell them, look, I just took these young men on this field trip. Here are my expenses for the field trip. I need to be reimbursed for these expenses. And they would reimburse him. And then he would take those same receipts and he would go to the school district and he would say, look, I just took these young men on a field trip. Here are my expenses for that field trip. I need to be reimbursed. So he found a nice way to double dip and get that money twice effectively. So we looked at the documents, we proved that case out, and finished it up, had a dossier done. Second thing he was doing, completely unrelated, but also completely illegal. A few years before we caught this scheme, there was this old beat up pickup truck in this county. And the board of supervisors realized that the truck had outlived its usefulness. So they voted to scrap the truck and take the money that would come off the scrap metal and put it back into the county coffers. For whatever reason, after they voted to do that, somebody parked the truck out at a county facility and forgot about it. So the truck just sat there for a while. And our target of the investigation, this president of the board of supervisors, he realized that truck had been sitting there for a while and nobody was asking questions about it. So he went to a buddy and he said, look, I'm going to give you the keys to go get that truck. I want you to take the truck. I want you to drive to another county, go to a scrapyard. Don't go to a scrapyard in our county. Go to a scrapyard in a different county. Get the truck scrapped. Get the money in cash. Come back to me. I'll take some of the cash. You take the rest of the cash. Nobody will be any the wiser. Which was probably a pretty good scheme, unless your buddy rats you out, which is exactly what he did. His friend got caught or felt like he was about to get caught. And so after all this had happened, he came and told us about this. So we built these two separate but completely illegal cases against this individual. And typically what happens at the end of a case like that is I will take all of our investigative file, and if it's something that is noteworthy, or if it's something where I think we're going to have to do some persuading to the DA to take our case, I will go and I will present the case to the DA. So I get in the truck, load up with my director of investigations. We drive down to this county. We meet with the district attorney. We lay the case out in front of him. We say, we think this is very important because it's the president of the board of supervisors. He agreed with us completely, and they took this case. They went in front of a grand jury. They got this individual indicted. We then make the arrest. So my agents go out and they make the arrest of this individual. They then, of course, process that individual. And the way this one worked out is the individual who had done this, his name is Jerome Wyatt, he realized pretty quickly that we had the goods on these two schemes. And so he pled guilty to a felony. He had to pay all the money back. He was sentenced to a prison term, most of which is probation, unfortunately. And then in addition to that, he's no longer on the Board of Supervisors. And because he's pled to a felony, he's no longer allowed to serve in any public office or handle any public money ever again. So I tell you that story to sort of say this at the end of it. That's typical of a case that we've had over the course of the last 2 years from beginning to end. But at the end of a lot of cases like that, this one included, someone will inevitably come up to me and they will say, look, we think it's really good that y'all found that. Great job. Glad you put a stop to it. Glad he's not ever going to be able to handle public money again. Are you sure you want to do this? Because that guy has family and friends. He's incredibly well connected. Everybody knows him in the county. And oh, by the way, this is the piece that I left out. That happens to be my home county where I came from. So this all happened in Jones County, where I grew up, born and raised from the time I was born to the time I left and went to Ole Miss. And so people go in on you and they say, you know, you really need to think twice before you do this, because politicians, you know, have to run for re-election, and you have to have your home county locked down in order to keep getting reelected. And if you don't have your home county locked down, you know, you're going to get beat one day, and then you and your baby daughter are going to have to live under a bridge or something like that. And I have to tell them, look, you can make that argument to me all day long, but the way I see it is, I came from this county. I was probably like a lot of those young men. I went to public schools in my county. You know, I made good grades. I was the nerd kid in my county. I could have been in that program. And this is a guy that a lot of those young men looked up to. And they probably thought of him as a role model. And he made certain promises to them about what they would get if they made good grades. And he not only lied to them and betrayed their trust, but he also stole from them. And he stole from the taxpayers by doing what he did. So are we going to pursue cases like that? Yeah, we're going to pursue cases like that. In fact, those are the exact kinds of cases that I want to pursue. And I don't care if it happens to be in my home county. In fact, I'm a little bit more motivated by the fact that it's in my home county. And to close off that point, in addition to that arrest, this past Monday, we actually went back to Jones County and arrested 3 more individuals in a completely different scheme who were defrauding the taxpayers down there again. So, you know, I make the point to say this job requires folks who are going to be willing to do the hard thing, even when it's not the easy or politically convenient thing. My thought of it is, there's an easy way to do this job, and then there's the right way to do this job. And I'm committed to doing this job the right way, because that's what it demands. And if you're not willing to do it in that way, then you got to do something else. You can't be state auditor. So to sort of close off that thought, you know, we finish that case, we get done with it. And at the end of it, I talk about these cases. I come to y'all and I tell you what happened. We put those individuals' mugshots online and show the world that they did something that they shouldn't do. And I'll have people who will say, well, you know, you're by talking about the cases after the fact, you're trying to embarrass those people. Well, I have to again make the point, they embarrassed themselves by stealing this money. You know, I'm not thinking about their embarrassment. I'm thinking about the victims. I'm thinking about those young men who had money stolen from them. I'm thinking about the taxpayers who had money stolen from them. And I also think about this too. We see these cases where a Board of Supervisors member steals something, or some county employees steal government property. And I know in the back of my mind, every single time we make an arrest, every single time we conclude a case like that we are not going to be able to catch every single instance of this happening in Mississippi. It's just impossible. You know, we have 131 employees in the state auditor's office this week. We're not going to be able to catch everything. Nobody's perfect, and we're not perfect either. We're not going to be able to catch it all. So we also have to do things to prevent people from doing this in the future. And one of the ways you prevent people from doing this is you send the message constantly that there's somebody out there watching, and that if you steal money, there are going to be consequences. And that's not just Shad's theory of criminal justice. That is a theory that is backed up by criminal justice research. So Cynthia mentioned that I'm a member of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. It's a group of people who are trained to look for fraud and work in a variety of different kinds of offices. The Association of Certified Fraud Examiners puts out a report every single year. And this year in their report, they say something similar to what they've said many years prior, which is, if you want to prevent fraud, the number one thing you can do is increase the perception of detection. Increase the perception of detection. That means that, in layman's terms, you have to let people know that it is likely if they steal money that they're going to be caught. You got to let them know that somebody's out there watching, and you got to let them know that you're good at it and that you can detect when these things are happening. And that if you do detect it, there's going to be some serious consequences for people at the end of it. So that's sort of the philosophical view that I take of this job. It's that we not only have to do our jobs well and prove up cases and get convictions and hold people accountable, but we've got to constantly send the message that we're out there watching. I think what happens a lot of times, especially in small government agencies, small state agencies, or small local government offices, is people start to think, well, I could steal a little of that money over there and nobody's going to notice, because the only people I have to fool are the folks who are staring at me every day in the office, 2 or 3 other employees. And as long as they don't notice, nobody's going to notice. Well, yeah, you are going to have to fool those folks in order to get away with it. But there's this other completely separate entity that's based in Jackson and has offices in Biloxi and Oxford. And we're out there constantly looking to find stuff like this. And we're constantly looking to protect taxpayer money and get that money back if we see that it has been stolen. That's really the thing that is most motivating about this job, both for me and for everybody who works here. I think they all work here not because I'm a neat guy, but because they care about the vision of the office. They care about the mission that they can say they put their hands to every single week. We've got attorneys, accountants, career investigators who could go elsewhere and make more money than they make here. But they stay here and they stay working here because when we put our heads down on the pillow every Friday night, we know that we got a bunch of money back for taxpayers. Every single week we can look back and see what we accomplished for taxpayers. And that's an incredibly fulfilling thing. Aside from the investigations, I'll give you this one little update, and then I think I'm at time, and then would love to take any questions that you have if you'd like. One other thing that we do in addition to these criminal investigations is we do a deep dive into how our government is spending money, period, even if it's not illegal, to try to find better, smarter ways, less wasteful ways of spending money. And one thing I've talked about a lot in the last 2 years is I'm a product of our public schools. I love our public schools in Mississippi. My mom was a public school teacher for 35 years. Her 2 parents met as public school teachers. I think we need to do a better job in Mississippi of putting more money into the classroom, into the public school classroom, more money into teacher salaries, more money in teacher supplies so that teachers don't have to buy their own supplies, more money into the classroom and less money into the growing education bureaucracy that seems to be developing. So we've got a bunch of really good school districts in Mississippi, but we've got some school districts who have clearly increased administrative costs at a clip which is not healthy. So what we know is from our research that we've been doing for these last 2 years, we know that administrative costs in Mississippi are rising faster than our spending on instruction. We know that our inflation adjusted spending on teacher salaries has actually gone down in Mississippi by about 3%, but our inflation adjusted spending on administrator salaries has gone up by 10%. When you see data point after data point like that, it lets you know that there's an issue. And I think that issue shows that money is being spent in a way that doesn't really fit with how voters and taxpayers and parents and even students think that the money ought to be spent. So to cap off our research on that project, I have commissioned a pilot project with 3 school districts around Mississippi. It's going to be in Hinds County School District, Starkville, Oktibbeha Consolidated, and Columbus Municipal School District. And we are working with one of the most advanced data analytic companies in the country. And what they're going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to go to each of these school districts, and with our help, they're going to pull down every single expenditure that those school districts have made over the last year. And they're going to look at them and they're going to say, okay, well, look, you've got 6 curricula officers here. It's probably better to have 5 given the size of your school district, and that 1 officer needs to be in the classroom or somewhere else. They'll look at things like you've got 3 different software licenses. They're all duplicative. You only need 1 of these 3. And in fact, one of the 3 of them isn't even being used by any teachers right now. It's not being logged into. They find ways that the school district is spending money in the back office that could be reallocated to the classroom. So we're excited about that project. It's kicked off right now, and I suspect that it will be done sometime around February and March of 2021. So I'll look forward to my next 2-year anniversary coming in and talking to you all about what we found there. But those are the kinds of things that are motivating for me, the kinds of things that we've been working on the last 2 years. And I appreciate the chance to come and explain some of that to you and be here with you via Zoom. I know I'm at time now. Any questions for me? Any thoughts, short speeches? Terry had a question, looks like.
my unmute on. Why those 3 school districts?
Good question. So one, we wanted 3 different kinds of school districts. So I wanted a municipal, I wanted a county, and I wanted a consolidated. So that narrowed it down a good bit. I wanted school districts that weren't F school districts. So, F school districts have a lot of problems, not just in and outside the classroom. So we wanted school districts that needed help, but didn't need so much help that we thought we would be ineffective in addressing their basic problems. So we picked among school districts that were D, C, and B. So I think those are 2 C's and D maybe in those 3 school districts. And the other thing, frankly, was just those school districts and their willingness to ask us for help. So Starkville, Oktibbeha Consolidated got wind that we were thinking about this, and they raced to come in and say, no, we want to be on that project. If you ever do a pilot project, we want to be on that project. Columbus wrote a letter, their school board wrote a letter to me and said, hey, we've heard that y'all are thinking about doing a project like this. Please come and make us a part of the project. In Hinds County, we had just finished doing some work with them, and they clearly had some serious issues based on what we found. And so I told them, we're really looking for a big county school district to round off our pilot project. Would y'all be interested? And the superintendent was very, very eager for us to come in and help her realize how she's spending money. And the reason I wanted 3 school districts that were eager for us to be in there is I didn't want to make a bunch of recommendations at the end of the project and then the superintendent just drop it in the wastebasket and say, thanks for your help here. We're not going to do anything you spent money on identifying. I wanted 3 superintendents who were excited about us coming in, who would be eager to help us get data, and who would implement the changes that we recommended at the end of it. So that's why we picked those 3.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. What else?
Hey, Shad. So, you mentioned 2 years ago we were your first speaking engagement. I think you got appointed the day before. I also think it was my second meeting as president, so that was kind of exciting with press all around. But that said, you came in and basically, said your plans for what you had for the office. And I just wanted to thank you because it's so refreshing to see a politician, if you will, on any side, just saying they're going to do something and actually doing it. So thanks for making a difference.
I appreciate you saying that, Tammy. And I'll tell you something else that I make a habit of doing because it's easy to fall out of this habit. It's easy to go out and say, I'm going to do these 20 things and then just walk out of the meeting and never think about them again. But what we have done is occasionally we'll record the speeches that I give. And I will go back and I will look at the speeches that I've given and the things that we have produced and the promises that I made. And I'll just build a checklist. And I'll say, have we done this? Yes, no. Have we done this? Yes, no. So I was literally doing that yesterday. I walked through and listened to 2 speeches that I had given right after I got appointed and made a checklist and went through and checked things off that we had done. And lo and behold, of course, there's one thing on there that I totally promised and we totally had not done yet. So, I immediately got on email and I said, guys, this is my fault for dropping the ball on this thing. It was related to cybersecurity. So this is my fault for dropping the ball, for not making sure that we remember to hit a deadline. But we have to do this because a year and a half ago, I promised the crowd that we were going to do this thing related to cybersecurity, and we haven't done it yet. So then we all scramble around here, and we're working up a plan to get that done. But I think that's what it takes, to your point. You just have to go through and you have to constantly remind yourself, what have I promised voters? What have I promised taxpayers? I've made a commitment to getting that done, and so we got to get it done. Or they're going to find somebody else to do this job. And I think to your point, Tammy, we would be better off if more people did that, period, in life, whether it's politicians or people in the private sector too, or anybody.
Absolutely. It's appreciated and noticed.
Thank you, ma'am. What else? Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And if I can ever be of service or do anything for anybody, please let me know. And if I don't get invited back, then I'll be calling on y'all anyway in 2 years, and I'll say it's time. It's time for our 2-year meeting. I have to come down to Bay St. Louis.
Be great.
We'd love it.
That would be
Thank you.
so much.
Thank y'all. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right. Great job. Thank you, Cynthia, for bringing him to our meeting today. All right, so now let's go back to our virtual host, and I'm going to turn it over to Sam and let her tell you about her business and do a little Rotary member minute, which might take a little longer than a minute for Sam because she's been very active in Rotary for a long time. So, Sam.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to use you. Oh, you want me to do it? I can do that.
You.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
there you go. That works better. Can everybody hear now? Yeah. Okay. So I think most of the people on this call know me. I'm Sam Wally. I joined Rotary in May of 2014. And at the time, I was the owner of Concepts, which I still am. You know, Concepts, we've been in business for 20 years. We provide transcription, answering service, and call center services for hospitals and physicians and healthcare providers. And last year, we launched a new business called WorkWise. We're actually having a ribbon cutting next Thursday here at our office on McLaurin, 2208 McLaurin. We rent the space from Henry Martinez at GM&R. Most of you know him, a fellow Rotarian. So we'll be having a ribbon cutting next week. We'd really like to invite you to come. But WorkWise is a lot of the same services we offer through Concepts, but it's for small business owners. So we really saw a need for other small business owners that need administrative support, answering the phone, scheduling appointments, accounts payable. So we basically are offering a human resources clerk, an accounting clerk, and an administrative assistant service by the minute, by the hour, or up to a full-time employee. So we have a couple of new clients that we've onboarded through that business, have been really successful and really grown just with them and finding the things we can do. And now that the world has become more virtual, it's an even better space for us. I think right now we're kind of going with we were virtual before virtual was cool theme at the moment. It's working with our new business. In Rotary, let's see, I joined in May of 2014. Terry Velarde encouraged me, convinced me to become the secretary the next year, which was really a great position in Rotary because I learned all about the program and our systems and all the people in our club. I really enjoyed doing that. So I served as our secretary for 2 years. Then I served as president. And I've also been involved in youth exchange because youth exchange is what brought me to Rotary. My son was a youth exchange student. It was my first introduction to Rotary. And I stayed involved in that. So I've been serving as the district's youth exchange officer, as well as our club's youth exchange officer. Last year, there were a lot of changes going on with Rotaract. I think you know Rotaract has been made a partner of Rotary, so we had some changes going on with that. I agreed to step up into the role of youth services chair for the district, which is a position over Interact and Youth Exchange and RILA to manage programs for youth. And so that's the position I'm in now. I'm going to continue that for this year and next year and go from there. And I enjoyed my Rotary time very much, and I'm very proud to be a Rotarian. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know, because I'm going to be coming to all of you for things that I have some great ideas and plans for youth in our community. Gary, unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Ryla, Interact, and
Youth exchange. So I have chairs for Interact and RILA. I will have a new chair for Youth Exchange next year, and I'll just manage the programs from a smaller perspective.
Great. Anybody have questions for Sam? Thank you,
y'all.
Sam, for hosting our first virtual thing.
Yeah.
I actually have your new Paul Harris fellow pin, and I think you gave you a certificate, but I did you another one just in case too.
Thank you.
So those are there, socially distancing.
That's right.
All right. Do we have any member announcements?
I have a ribbon cutting next Thursday if anybody wants to come at WorkWise.
All right, and again, remember, no meeting next week, but please try to do a little service project. You can post it to our Facebook page. And okay.
I have a question. This is for Cindy. Cindy, you got my email about paying online. Have you been able to find out how to do that?
I did get your email and I have not figured that out yet, but I'm working on it.
Well, Ashley used to send a little bit of information when she sent out the bill, but I didn't keep any of those. So
Okay,
you could just ask Ashley.
okay.
Up with that.
We'll get it worked out for you, Darlene, and get something to
Great, thank you.
And maybe I can add something to the invoices, like a message on them every time. That'll give some of those instructions too.
Here's a template for the message.
Send that out as an attachment so you can just put it in the body of your email.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're also in the process of switching from DAC-DB, one data system to another system. So if there may be a few
Okay.
glitches,
It
but
may be
while we're learning the stuff, but we should still be able to send out the old emails right now. And hopefully by August 1st, we'll be starting to use the new system.
Okay, great, thank you.
DAC DB to what?
Club Runner. Yeah. We have adopted the district, I guess.
Request.
Yeah. Secretary's report?
Yeah, I wanted to just go over, did I unmute? Yeah. A couple of the anniversaries. I kind of blew through them last week, but I have the years now. Makes a difference. Ramundo Barnes, 1 year anniversary at the end of the month. David Hilbert is 2 years on the 25th. Mackenzie Northington, 1 year at the end of the month. And Miss Yuki has been with us for 8 years now at the end of the month. Robert Thibodeau will be 2 years on the 25th. And our president will be 4 years today, actually.
Today.
Today. 7/22. So
I just want credit. I've been a member since before Katrina. It's okay, but I'm just saying.
They probably
keeping track back then.
I took a leave of absence and they erased my history.
Oh,
It's okay.
do that.
I bring it up every year.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could kind of do that with your birth years? Yeah, just erase.
Exactly.
Erase them.
I like
All
that.
right. Tammy, do we have a guest the Rotarian today?
We do. I've got a full stack. So I drew of the people who are here in the meeting.
Okay.
Guess the Rotarian today. This person was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Terry.
Did you say Terry?
Terry.
Nope. Okay. Their worst job was a parking lot perfume salesperson.
Uh-oh.
Dave Hilbert.
No, and it's not John either, Yuki. Also, John, I see you're on, and anyone who has not filled out a Guess the Rotarian form, please message me, and I will get one to you so you can be in the list.
Yeah, where's Carlos?
Yeah, could it be Carlos?
Mm-hmm.
It could be. This person.
I'm still here. It's just noisy, but I'm here.
this person was a hospital administrator and has a Grammy for sound engineer.
Oh, it is Carlos.
It is Carlos. Yep.
Darn it. I knew I was had the minute she said Brooklyn.
Yep.
So you got it?
No.
Darlene got it.
Darlene did.
Darlene?
Second one.
All right. So now we will we'll let Sam draw. Everybody's names are in here.
I like your Rotary Opens Doors or Opportunities shirt. That's fancy.
Who?
Lisa.
Oh.
There it is.
Oh.
idea of who really. whose name
All
it is.
right, this was from a couple of weeks ago, and Annie, Darlene, I think they guessed me correctly a couple of weeks ago. You win.
It's a good prize.
It's a good prize, and I know y'all cook a lot, so it's a bag of.
I don't got it. No, you wouldn't.
It's the wonderful seasoning that Yuki sells at her shop, so we'll get that to y'all as soon as possible. So, all right. Anything else? All right, 4-way test.
Is this
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And the motto.
Service above self, one profits most, who serves best.
We are adjourned.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye. Hey, Roxy.
Bye,
No,
y'all.
this is the vicious beast.
Oh,
See?
hey, Z.
Look.
Hey, Z.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.